From the News Talk STL studios in St. Louis, it's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. On tonight's episode, staged assassinations with Alex Bond, future Senator Dave Robertson, and the Right Mind studio band, Mitch Murphy and the Murphy Tones. Now putting the fun in your dysfunctional world, here's your host, Todd Showalter.
Oh, boy, it sure is great to be back. I got to tell you, with the beach and the sun and the surf and all that, that was fine, okay? But being back here, sitting across from you, my friend, that's my real ray of sunshine. What do you think of that?
You see this mixing board that I use every week?
It's like a Christmas tree, but it's not.
What size would you say it is besides Christmas tree? For the listener.
I would say it's about the size of my toaster oven
Yeah,
at home.
exactly. So I took this in my carry-on to Florida, and I got patted down real good. So it made me think I was with you still.
Oh, wow. It does look, you're right. Okay.
TSA was not having it. They were like,
it does kind of look like a bomb now that you mention it. Yeah, but I mean, I would have, I guess if I were to sneak a bomb on, not that I ever would.
Not that he ever would.
Not that I ever would. I'd probably disguise it as your mixing board.
Do you remember when I was in the closet with it, too? We had a little private time.
That was so funny. I did not realize this, though. I mean, because, the days got away from me. The weeks got away from me. I mean, that horrible flu and whatever I had, everything was a total flummoxed in my brain, okay? And so I was overbooking guests and everything, and we had holidays. We had Valentine's Day. We've got St. Patrick's Day coming up. Little did I know until this very moment, my friend. This very moment that today is also Bring Your Son to Work Day. I didn't know that.
Which favorite son did you bring? You ranked them, and you brought one of them.
He said you can only bring your favorite son. So I brought, Blake is here with us today.
Welcome, Blake.
No, I got to preface this, though.
Don't talk yet, Blake. We're not ready.
Because I don't let people talk on this show. I just introduce them as guests, and then I talk over them. That's kind of my shtick. Okay, but when TJ is in here, I introduce him as my favorite guest or favorite son. So it kind of goes back and forth. Nobody knows who's the favorite. It's a mystery. Would you like to say hello now?
And neither of them listen to the show, so it never gets caught. The ranking.
Oh, he makes us listen to the show. He has in the living room, gets his gun out, and we all sit around and we smile and listen to the show.
He's exactly right, because the show would not be the show without firearms.
It's a terrifying time.
It is a terrifying time, especially if I'm not wearing clothes.
TJ would be here, but speaking of closets, he's been in one for about 5 years now?
Yeah, well, he hasn't come out with that
sham wedding.
He's married and everything, but I guess
she doesn't know.
No, she doesn't know either.
No.
We promised we wouldn't talk about that, though. But now that we have,
secrets out.
Maybe I guess,
unlike him out of the closet.
I guess he'll be more.
And none of them are really your favorite, because who went to Florida with you? None of them.
Nobody went to Florida with me except, my wife. And here's the thing, okay? So we were like, it's the two of us. It's that time when we can rekindle that marriage spark.
23 floors above Florida, just spitting fluids off the side, collecting fines.
Fluids were flowing, okay? And so not those kind.
The ocean.
Not those kind. It was like Metamucil and things like
Gulf
that.
Of
because
America.
we were a little backed up. But we got that dang darn flu, okay? That dang darn virus that was going around that she brought back from those little vermin that she takes care of at the daycare place that would not leave, okay? I'm not going to talk about this for the whole show because I already talked about it from that horrible microphone I was on. But for a whole month, my friend, I was under the weather.
And then what did your children do when you came back? Was it a celebratory victory party? Father has returned.
No, they didn't do that. They were there. But Juice the dog was there. Mm-hmm. Benny was there. Ed the cat was there. It was like a big reunion.
As soon as you posted you were back in town, someone called for money? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, they always do. Yeah, they always do.
That's right.
Well, what was it? Tell us a story about the farmer's market. I don't want to keep beating around. I don't want to keep messing around.
Don't beat that bush.
No, I don't want to beat that bush. But you've been on pins and needles to tell the farmer's market story. Just get it out of the way and tell it, would you?
Well, in Sanibel, Florida, they have the farmers market every Sunday at the library. Ooh. And I was wondering, how much money do you have to make to break even? And first, you got to pay $100 to be there, and then $70 to be returning every week after that, after you get your license and stuff. And I just thought I wouldn't have anything good to sell. I would leave in a deficit every single time I went. Unless you're selling, guacamole or, baguettes, you're not going to really make money at this farmer's market. I just got jokes that I write for your show every week, and nobody pays me money for that.
And actually, they're the best part of the show. A lot of people say that. They say, I listen to the show just for Joey's segue jokes, and then I listen to the commercials, and I figure, well, he's going to do another one of these in 10 or 15 minutes, and they come back for that. But going back to the farmer's market, did you not use my idea? I've always thought it would be a big thing if you, sold, make your own salt salt kits, you know, because salt just is, people take that for granted, okay? You see it on restaurant tables, you see it everywhere, but can you imagine making your own salt? I think that could be a big seller at a farmer's market.
There's a lot of carnival barking at these sort of places where you yell what you're offering, and then I would yell, I'll assault you, and then I would get kicked out, obviously.
Yes. Okay. Well, apparently, and I don't know if we're supposed to bring this up, and if it's not, well, I'm going to do it anyway, but there are a lot of theories about farmers markets, about the types of people that go there. You know where I'm going with this?
Now, your son mentioned that there's a pattern of more women being at these farmers markets. I don't know if they've turned into craft fairs.
Right.
But, you usually think of a guy in coveralls with a beard, and he's like, I say a
like
tomato.
you and I.
Yeah, manly men.
Exactly, manly men.
But, Blake, have you seen more women at the farmers markets? I mean, what is this pattern you've noticed?
Yeah, what are these? Tell us about the women that you've experienced at the farmers market. Do tell.
Well, they have a certain preference amongst themselves.
Amongst themselves?
More lesbian farmers.
Are you talking about
that would be it,
lesbians?
Joey. I mean, yes.
Now, wait a minute. So you're saying that lesbians go to the farmer's market?
Work there.
That's kind of fruit. Get it? Farmer's market?
We were all searching for the right pun. I was like,
that's fruit, isn't
they
it?
diving in the dirt?
Diving
no, that's
in the
not
dirt.
that's not a really a lesbian.
Okay, what? No, I don't want to let this go because this is something. I'm interested in all the things that you didn't get to buy, but lesbians at the farmers market. Now, this is quite the story. Is this something that you've come upon through years of research, or just something that you kind of think about?
Or dabble. That's
You
about it.
dabble.
I dabble a
You
little
dabble.
bit.
Okay.
It's just something that is an occurrence that you see at times.
Okay.
This is going to be a new subgenre on RedTube or Hamster Tube or whatever all the tubes guys are watching now. Farming ladies. I like that.
Farming ladies.
It's probably part of that trad wife thing I've been hearing about. Traditional wifing, where women go back to not having jobs and being, mothers and farming.
June Cleaver.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe it's, they're both trad wifing together.
Well, I asked my wife to wear just like an apron and nothing else, and she slaps me. She says, "I'm not having any of that."
There was a weird phase where you made her wear a hijab. That was a little
wear a what?
Hijab. A whole headdress. It was crazy.
A little more burqa, a little less face, babe.
Oh, I get it.
That's exactly what it was.
I'm not going to keep going back to the lesbians at the farmers markets, but one thing I have noticed that usually the lesbians that park at the farmers market have a lot of bumper stickers on their cars. But I'm just going to move and just go in a different
They say coexist, but then they don't want a third involved in their relationship.
No thruples.
No guys allowed.
Your words, thruple, came up while I was gone because it was something about a threesome or something. It was like we were out to lunch somewhere, and you could have like a third side dish type thing. And there was this old guy, and he couldn't decide whether to get the potato salad along with the coleslaw or the fries. And I was behind him and his wife, and I said, "Have you ever heard of a thruple?" And she turned around and winked, and he didn't know what the heck I was talking about.
My goodness.
Why don't you explain again? For those who don't know what a thruple is, Joey, my friend, tell what a thruple is.
It's a portmanteau. I don't want to explain what that is, but it's the combining of two words. Threesome couple. That's all. They're deeply in love the way the Bible says you should be.
That reminds me, who was that caveman that went crazy at Trump's speech the other night? I didn't know what the heck was going on. All of a sudden, Trump is giving this patriotic speech that I've watched twice now, okay, because I was so...
2 hours long, watched it twice.
I don't have a life, okay, and so that's what I do.
I watched it on half speed, so it's a little bit longer.
Oh, I loved it, yeah. Did you put a music track underneath it? Because that's even better.
Well, when our friend Al Green was waving his cane around, I was like, let's stay together. Mr. Green, sit down.
It was like the Geico guy. Who is he the congressman for?
I don't even know. He knows. I think he's a little lost, and he's just banging his cane around.
I didn't know what the heck was going on. I was quite perplexed. Did you like the speech, though? Because I thought, as I just mentioned, I thought it was quite inspiring, and it was dang right patriotic. It made you feel like you had somebody in your corner for a change. It was like, gosh darn it, I'm an American, and people are going to stand up for me, and they're going to make sure that everybody knows I'm an American, and I'm not going to let anybody take advantage of me. Did you get that feeling?
When was the speech? Was that on Tuesday?
I don't know. It was.
I was busy voting for Andrew Jones for mayor. The polls closed at 7, but I stayed there just yanking that lever
We're not
over and over and
supposed to
over.
bring that up. We were not supposed to, because Andrew Jones, who has been on our show twice, I thought we were going to make him, I thought for sure after being on our show, he was going to blow Tishawana and all those other people out of the water with all the votes, but apparently he did not move on to the final round.
There's got to be a recount. He's the only one that actually came in under 100%. Everyone else was at like 110% of the votes, 120% of the votes. The math doesn't add up.
Well, apparently you could vote, like as you said, as many times as you wanted for everybody that was on the ticket. What kind of election is that?
They call it ranked choice. I call it stinky choice.
Ranked choice.
Ranked choice voting.
That's just rank. That's terrible, I tell you. What was the highlight when you were in Florida?
You're going to hate this, but I watched 11 movies on my vacation. I had them
hate that.
downloaded onto my phone. I was watching them on the big screen in the living room.
Was Karen Drewley in them?
No, they were good movies. And so what I did was I watched them on the beach. It was incredible. On the plane. So I really just did the thing that I love most, watching movies. And then, of course, someone would come to me and say, where do you want to eat tonight? And I'd say, I don't know. And then we'd go out to eat. It was such a relaxing trip. It was all inclusive, all paid for except for the plane flight.
Really? Mm-hmm. Can I go next year? Because, I mean, seriously, if there anything that mine wasn't, it wasn't all-inclusive. Now, getting back to your movies, though, that Aorta movie won the Academy Award.
Mm-hmm.
Was it that about like a heart, like a vascular type thing? Or what? Was that what it, I mean, because wasn't that the one that won? Because I know you're really into the Academy Awards. And I did watch little bits and pieces of it because I was lost trying to find Matlock. But, I mean, was that the film that you wanted to win?
It is the one I wanted to win. It was called Anora. It was about a stripper. You'd love it. It's a rom-com about a stripper.
Oh, I love those.
This Chris Arps guy that I work with on the weekdays.
I love him, too. Is he a stripper?
He hates movies. I can't even talk about movies with this guy, but every Friday I have a segment where I talk about movies. And
it's good.
And then he just says, all movies suck. They're all sequels. I was like, Chris, this is a movie about a stripper. You're going to love it. I promise.
Yeah, baby.
It's a rom-com. And he said, well, it's a rom-com. Like, come on, man.
Chris Arps doesn't know what a rom-com? What, was he born yesterday?
I think so. Maybe he's never experienced any romance or comedy because he doesn't bring me flowers, and I don't find him very funny.
I brought you flowers, but they all died. I mean, because I bought them when I was at the farmer's market with the lesbians in Florida, and by the time I got home, they were all dead.
They were funeral flowers you got from our picture over at the graveyard.
That's right. Did I ever tell you my Grumpy Gram story? I got to share this. Can I share it really quick with you?
Can I order a Grumpy Gram?
Well, here's what's funny, because you actually could. Back when I was a kid, see, along with my egg thing, when I would sell that insurance, in case you wanted to make sure you didn't get egged by a house, you could buy insurance, along with all these, and also shoveling snow with water out of somebody's hose that would turn into ice. I also had another business. They used to, do you remember the singing telegrams?
Yeah, of course. Austin Powers would show up. He'd rip off his shirt, show us his chest hair and his messed up, goofy teeth.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, baby.
Well, yeah, baby. Well, I had this thing, and I was probably about 17 or... Yeah, I was probably 16 or 17, but I decided I'm going to do Grumpy Grams, okay? I swear to gosh, darn God, that this is true. There was this funeral place called Schrader's or something like that, and I would get all their dead flowers that they would put out back, okay? And I would make these little bouquets, and then people that wanted to either break up with their boyfriend or girlfriend or wife or husband, all this stuff, I would show up with these dead flowers with a little poem saying roses are red, violets are blue, he's with another woman and hates you too. That kind of thing. Here's your flowers. Well, okay, this didn't go very well because a lot of people got quite upset about it, and it got to the point where I was supposed to, this is a true story that I mentioned before, 94.2% of everything on the Right Mind show is factual. Someone asked me, they were getting married, but the person did not want to marry the other person, and they wanted me to show up at this wedding with the Grumpy Gram to ruin the wedding. And guess what? This is a true story. The father of the bride said, if you show up and do this, I will shoot you dead. And that was the end of the Grumpy Gram business.
I like that you could actually pit the two people against each other. The person that bought your services for the Grumpy Gram, right? They paid you a flat fee, $500, because you're really good at it.
No, it was like $15. I was a kid, It was like, here, $15, I'll ruin your life.
That's too low. And then you go to the dad of the wife or whatever, and you say, hey, you know what, your future son-in-law, he's paying me $15 to ruin the day. How much would you like to pay me to not ruin the day?
Yes.
You just took it the death threat and ran away. You should have just pit them against against each other.
I wish we had known each other when we were younger. Boy, we could have taken this business, probably franchised it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, timing's everything. I got to tell you, my friend, I am so happy to see Mitch again. I mean, the whole time I was away, I did not think about Mitch. I didn't talk about Mitch. But just seeing him, again, just so, he's not, obviously he doesn't want to be here. He hasn't played any music during our entire. It's so great to be around somebody that just totally doesn't like me.
Now, do you have Venmo, Zelle? What do you use to send money back and forth between your family members?
So it depends. It depends. I don't use Venmo just because everybody sees what you bought, and sometimes if there's sex toys involved, I don't want to.
You can turn that on private. But we did get a Rover for Mitch, and it was a hefty chunk because she came over every day for an hour to play with him and give him the little churu. The little Go-Gurt that you feed cats?
Yes.
That's what Mitch was sustaining his life on. One Go-Gurt a day.
He's giving me the stink eye. That's all he does. He gives me the stink eye. He doesn't play his tambourine. I think I'm not.
The Rover lady would send me pictures to let me know that he's still alive, and then I just need to get half the money from you, though.
Oh, there's no problem with that.
All right, cool.
Yeah, okay. What do we get to him? Okay. In the meantime, I'm Todd Showalter along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. It's Bring Your Son to Work Day, along with Blake. This is The Right Mind Show, because I just said that. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter, how to get a license to kill with Bond, Alex Bond. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter on News Talk STL. And now a man so kind, he can't even spell the word assassination. Todd Showalter.
Hey, we're back. I'm Todd Showalter along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. And on the line now is the one and only James Bond. No, it's not James Bond. It's Alex Bond, Joey. Alex, how are you doing? Wait a minute. You contacted me with like an essay of things that you want to talk about, which I really appreciate because I know I'm not going to have to like make stuff up. But introduce yourself, and you're a happy guy too, which I really enjoy. Tell us about yourself and why you go by the name Alex Bond. James Bond.
Well, actually, it was a very funny kind of process when I was down in Little Rock, Arkansas.
All right.
And I was working at a particular station, country and western station, doing news, sports, public affairs. And the person I was replacing had his last name converted, first last name, to a B name, Brad. And the other guy that was the man on the show, the anchorman, was an S. And they call it the SOB show.
Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah.
And so I became Brad Bond there. But when I moved to another station as a talk show host, then I became Alex Bond.
Okay.
And the management there was all happy about that. They could play games with that till who knows when.
Okay.
So anyway, I've had a background in the media, both in broadcast and in print. I got into the print in 1992 by doing a column at a newspaper that's now defunct, 35,000 circulation in St. Peters, Missouri. And I called the column The Probe.
The Probe, okay.
No, The Probe, P-R-O-B.
Oh, The Probe, like prostate exam, something like that.
Todd S.
No, right? Like going into sensitive areas.
Which is like a prostate exam.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I did the column for the better part of a year, and it was the most responded to thing that they'd heard. They wanted me to do something controversial.
Okay.
My columns were controversial, big time. And it got more positive response than anything else they did. The reason it got positive response was because I was taking, in very many cases, a position not prevalent in the mainstream or legacy media.
Okay. Well, I know that.
And I had information to back it up. And that's what I found out when I was down in Little Rock doing the news and stuff. There were things happening down there, like the drugs coming from, other parts of the world and landing at that little airport in Mina, and a CIA agent pilot getting gunned down there. All this stuff was happening down there, and the media really didn't want to touch any of that stuff.
Yeah, well, okay, because that's what you were going to bring up. You said there's all kinds of things, from like assassination attempts to all kinds of stuff. I mean, big, small, you name it, that the media just won't touch. And why? I've got a theory on this. What is your theory?
Actually, you can find out the facts, okay? And that's something that I kind of distance myself from. I'm not a conspiracy theorist.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody always likes to pay homage to that, but I'm not what I've done, I've revised that. I'm a conspiracy historian.
Okay.
Okay?
Well,
because you can't understand history unless you understand the underlying agendas and conspiracies that go with it. Think about wars. I mean, does one side inform the other one of what their intent and what they're going to do?
Usually not.
Yeah, exactly. In most cases, they usually leave deceptions. As Sun Tzu said, the guy that wrote Art of War, war is about deception.
Right.
And so is politics, and so is anything of any relevance. So how are you going to understand it unless you understand the hidden forces behind it?
Well, yeah, and again, when I said theory before, I mean, I have a theory on why the media won't report on certain things, okay? And that is, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you say you started back in the early 90s and things like that. I worked with newspapers back then as well. And with back in the day, it used to be papers, they were like family-owned, small businesses would own them and things like that. But it seems to me that once corporations got involved and started buying up the networks and buying up big newspaper chains and things like that, everything pretty much became a propaganda tool for whichever way the corporation that owns the media outlet wants to think. And so you have like a lot of very you look at NBC, you look at different very liberal outlets that are owned by corporations that, well, ironically happen to be liberal. And so I think the objectivity in journalism, which was key back when I was doing it, is totally gone because you have basically.
I tell you,
go ahead.
Was totally gone when you were in it.
Okay, well, explain that.
It was already gone.
Where was it?
Well, it happened. You got to go back to even the 30s. I don't know if you're familiar with the Franklin School, but this is when a group of Jewish Marxists came over from Germany and totally entranced, for some reason, the academia here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And so they became very powerful, and their influence spread through Columbia University to begin with, and then into Hollywood, and then, of course, into the news.
Mm-hmm.
People were fascinated. Do you recall the movie Reds with Warren Beatty?
Oh, I really loved that movie. No, I didn't. It was so boring. I think I fell asleep twice in that movie.
No, yeah, it was boring, but the point that it made was the infatuation that the media in the United States had with communism.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the major thing that you have to understand. But and the Warren Beatty character, which was a real life character that he was playing, went there because he was infatuated to the degree he wanted to go there and be part of it. He wanted to be an activist and come back to the United States. But that's not what happened. He found out what it really was.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with the people. Oh, the people. We're just going to use them like toilet paper.
Right.
So that's pretty much what was going on.
Yeah, and again, you bring up that, and that's a whole another topic, but it's a great one to bring up, is that you have these people even today, and they typically, I mean, your college campuses and things that, I want to be a socialist, I want to be socialism has never worked, okay? If they would just teach, if they would teach that in these liberal nut job colleges, that, we're going to talk socialism, but let's make the point that socialism has never in history ever worked, but it'll be different this time. No, it really won't. But they don't talk about that, do they?
No. This is part of the propaganda tour that you get with the media today. And, I've been tracking it because not only what I did in publishing my magazine between 1995 and 2000, but also networking with a whole bunch of people in the 90s. I don't know, a lot of people aren't aware of this, but in the 1990s, for all intents and purposes, there was kind of a media revolution, but it was all the alternative press, which was going to get no press in the legacy in the mainstream media. Zero.
Right.
All right. But we were uncovering some stories, some blockbuster stories. One of the ones that I got involved in back in 92 when I first got involved in all this stuff was the story about a guy that was in prison or in jail at the time, and I managed to interview him quite a few times. But he was the pilot of the SR-71, if you're familiar with the reconnaissance aircraft that goes several times the speed of sound. He was a pilot in a double-seat SR-71 that brought George Herbert Walker Bush then a candidate for vice president, to and from Washington to Paris to conclude the deal that was known as the October Surprise.
The October Surprise?
Yeah, that's what it was called.
Okay.
Okay, the October Surprise was Bush, who was a former CIA head, by the way.
Right.
Yeah, he flies to a little airfield or somewhere outside of Paris where he meets with the Iranians. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff with this, linked with it. But nonetheless, he meets with them and tells them not to release the hostages.
Okay, and this is when Ronald Reagan was because Bush was his vice president. So this is during that.
Yeah, was his vice president. Now
Right.
it doesn't mean that actually Reagan even knew about this,
Right.
because Bush wanted access to the White House, and later on he tried to, I think, do something a little bit more extreme about that. But when he got there and made this, keep in mind, Iran was at war with Iraq.
Mhm.
You remember that?
Yes.
Okay, and this war. Iran was not doing very good. They had captured, when they had that big coup, our aircraft and a lot of our equipment. But guess what? They didn't know how to maintain it.
Mm-hmm.
They were ineffectual. So lo and behold, that was one of the part of the agreement to help them with all this stuff. And now keep in mind, this has been totally debunked by the mainstream press. Okay, this operation never happened.
Mm-hmm.
However, I got to know the pilot and also another fellow that's an FAA flight safety inspector who's now passed. Russbacher, by the way, that's the name of the guy, Gunther Russbacher,
Mhm.
but he's also passed. Nonetheless, they just pretty much wiped out all the information on this stuff. One of the guys that did this, I don't know if you remember Pat Buchanan. He
Sure, I
actually
do.
ran.
Yeah. Sure.
And Pat Buchanan gets, I saw him one time get red in the face when somebody brought this up about this happening. And he said that was absolutely impossible. That could have never happened. He had a luncheon at 11 a.m. that morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to believe that he was able to fly from Washington to Paris, maybe have a 2-hour meeting, and then fly back to Washington and be at that luncheon at 11 a.m. Now, how is that possible? Well, it's an SR-71.
Okay.
It flies easily at Mach 3 plus. He said closer to Mach 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that means maybe an hour, a little over an hour in the air from Washington to Paris, and a little over an hour back again, plus a 2-hour meeting. I'm just throwing it in as an example. It could be a 3-hour meeting. I don't know. All right, so 4 or 5 hours total trip time.
So, but the bottom line is you've got things that have happened, and you talked about also, different. I've got here in my notes assassination attempts and things that are pretty extreme that the media just won't report on, and so
no. The media, I'm sure you're well aware, even in the article in Rolling Stone years ago about the infiltration of the media. This is in the '60s, for God's sake.
Yeah.
They had researched. In fact, I think it was one of the guys that was with the what was his name? One of the people that was involved in the whole Nixon Watergate thing. Those 2 reporters.
Right.
It was one of those reporters. But
Woodward and Bernstein.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
His article claimed there were at least 400 certifiable CIA types in the media influencing.
Right. Which is propaganda. And that's just it. I mean, what is so hard for me to understand is, especially when we went through all this COVID crap, I mean, there's so many things that I was amazed, and I've said this several times on other shows, at how many people that I really had a lot of respect for, intellectually, just common sense, whatnot, that I watched, basically anything the media would say, oh, it's got to be true. It's on the news. And I thought, no, wait, there's something doesn't add up here. I mean, I think over time, I think people are conditioned by the media to just assume, if something doesn't smell right and you bring it up, well, now you're the bad guy. But that was the very first time, in my life at least, I really firsthand saw a lot of people. You see how powerful this is. It's not just dense, people with an IQ of your shoe size. I mean, these are people that I really respected, that I would watch just buy this crap and say, wait a minute, don't you see how this 6 feet apart, and that's supposed to be a barrier to a virus? Well, that's what they said on the news. That's what the news says. I'm like, come on, use your brain. What I'm getting at here is the media, I believe, still has a lot of control, a lot of power over people, and I don't think that. I think
absolutely.
I think they abuse it. I think they abuse it, whether it be for profit or whether it be for nefarious reasons, and that's a shame. I guess my question is, who do you think is behind the curtain? Who is it? Because it's not just the media saying, "Oh, we're going to do this just to do it." Who do you think is really pulling the strings?
I'll say we had a discussion of that when I was working up in Kempton. I was the editor of this World Explorer magazine, and I was able to get the probe through their infrastructure out nationwide. And we were sitting there one day because I don't know if you're familiar with Nexus magazine. It's been around since I want to say the late '80s. Nonetheless, the Nexus magazine is another alternative magazine. Mm-hmm. It comes out of Australia. It's in 8 or 9 other countries, including the United States. Anyway, the guy that's the editor and publisher of it, a guy by the name of Duncan Rhodes, was sitting there, and so was another individual that had his small publication, and then me, and then David. So, we had publishers and writers from 4 major alternative sources sitting at the table. And that was one of the questions that we talked about. We talked about, now, who the hell is behind? I wish we would have had a review. This would have made an excellent show. Mm-hmm. And we all contributed. Nobody tried to hog the day, but we all contributed, and the consensus basically is it's a very small, elite group of incredibly wealthy and powerful individuals. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean like it's just 5 or 6 people. It's like old money, old families, old names, and they have so much old money and power that they can stay out of the limelight where they're not part of the discussion.
Yeah, it basically comes down. You've got situations now. BlackRock, Vanguard, things like that. That
exactly.
Hypothetically, or not even hypothetically, are pulling the strings. And you do. You got everything with your Klaus Schwab's and the World Economic Forum and all this, and it's right in front of people's faces at this point. And I guess my point is that first of all, I don't believe the media further than I could throw them. I saw even the weather at this point. You expected that to be wrong, but at this point, I don't trust any of it. And so I hope people are finally waking up and coming to realize. And if they don't, well, then you don't really have much common sense or any logic. But I hope people are finally waking up after all this stuff that's been going on. That is the media is just not what it's cracked up to be. We'll look forward to having you back, and thanks for joining me today. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Todd.
All right.
Sayonara and. Iowa Silver and away.
Bond, James Bond. Okay, Mr.
James
Bond.
James Bond, signing off.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Well, I tell you, Joey, the entire time of listening, and I agree with a lot of that, the media, I just don't trust it at all. But, I kept itching, and I kept thinking, one thing I just wanted to get out that I couldn't was, so you want to be a soccer player, Mr. Williams?
Itching? You probably got measles.
I did get measles. I was getting all kind of prickly. Could you tell?
If we go down to Texas and we hang out with those Amish people, we could have a measles party.
That's right. They have a big measles outbreak down there. Is RFK Jr. going to go down and take care of that?
I think they're hoping so, because remember that movie Witness? With Harrison Ford?
That was my favorite one. Was he a Han Solo in that one?
Yeah, he was Han Solo, and he was out there just banging all these Amish women. Kelly McGillis from she wanted it, and he gave it to her. And I think that's what's happening at these measles parties. Anyone that looks like Harrison Ford, Silver Fox, you come down there, you can get you some. And RFK Jr., he gonna get him some.
Oh, my gosh. By Han Solo. Go back, will you please? Han Solo was banging Kelly McGillis. She hasn't aged well, but that doesn't have anything to do with it. And that's what the whole premise of the movie Witness is?
Yeah, there's a witness.
A witness to Han Solo banging Kelly McGillis?
And they got to hide the witness.
Yeah.
And then Han Solo ends up on an Amish farm.
You ever played Hide the Pickle? Oh, we can't talk about that.
In Florida, that's all they do. Pickle this, pickle that.
Right. Okay.
Pickled balls, left and right.
Pickle my balls. Okay, I can't talk about that either. In the meantime, I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. His son's in the house, too. This is The Right Mind Show. We'll be right back.
Coming up next on The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter, future Missouri Senator David Robertson. Welcome back to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter on News Talk STL. And now a man who always tips his servers, especially if they are serving him divorce papers. Woo-wee! Todd Showalter.
And we're back. I'm Todd Showalter, along with my bestest buddy, Joey V. And with us now in the flesh, I tell you what, one of Missouri's soon-to-be newest senators, and also the modern-day patriot, the modern-day Paul Revere, we should say, Dave Robertson. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, Todd. Thanks for having me in.
Well, thanks for joining us here, in studio, because last time we were together, I was on a phone, you were on a phone. Joey, he was under the bed or something. I don't know. It was totally confusing, but we're going to let you do it all over again. You are now running for Senate. In what district? And tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. So it's State Senate District 22. That's the northern half of Jefferson County. So
okay.
That's where I'm running.
All right.
I can talk a little about my background. So I've been involved in the grassroots, conservative grassroots, for about 10 years now. Worked for the Eric Greitens campaign for governor back in 2016. I worked for the Bill Eigel campaign in 2024. I was the Iron Reynolds and St. Francis County coordinator for that campaign.
You got a flamethrower then, right, that we can use for your campaign?
Yeah, you bet.
Flamethrower.
Okay.
Really? Do tell.
Maybe an AR as well,
Oh, yeah.
Because was that the girl, or who was the one that was running for Secretary of State?
Don't talk about her.
I met her. Yeah, she was. Yeah,
she was supposed to be on the show, but she got kind of goofy with us.
She's now down in a Texas congressional district running against the eye patch guy. I'm forgetting Dan Crenshaw.
So she just goes around running against people.
I think
with a
she does.
flamethrower.
Yeah, and I will.
I was check that at the airport.
Yeah, you would think so.
I was at a Lincoln Days event with her speaking, and it was pretty comical because she came out and she just called out people and pointed at them and said, "This person's corrupt. This person's corrupt." So I got to hand it to her for bravery, but
she was a feisty little.
She was
thing.
very feisty.
It's a V something. Valencia. Who cares?
Yeah. Well, she never made it.
Valentina Gomez.
We're going to go to
Valentina
the people.
Gomez.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the real.
But Bill
winners
Eigel,
here.
he had a great big flamethrower event, and everyone got to shoot some books, and it was awesome. Yeah.
We're looking forward to that ad.
Well, that'll be great. Well, tell us what's going on, because I saw on social media you have your new signage out, so you're official now. I mean, you're ready to go. What has gone into the campaign so far? I know you have a campaign manager, which is always great. Mm-hmm. So, what are the plans? From here on in?
Yeah, we have a number of people helping us out, even some nationally known people. Mm-hmm. We've got our first palm card out. We got 2,000 palm cards out.
Okay.
We're down at the Mardi Gras Festival in Festus last Saturday, which was a very receptive. People were incredibly receptive to our message. Mm-hmm. We've got some signage. It's a lot of fundraising too. We're just talking to people. Right now, we're just spreading the word mostly. Not outdoor knocking yet. We're just going on radio interviews like this, going to events, letting people know about our race.
Okay, yeah. We're a little bit out. A couple of years, correct?
Oh, for sure.
But the thing is, that's okay, because you got to take some time to build that momentum. But what I'm interested in is, again, tell why you actually got into the race.
Yeah. Well, for a while now, I've been considering running, and I was giving a lot of talks at St. Louis County Council meetings and library meetings, speaking against all this crazy transgender stuff.
Right.
And people would say to me, "You really should run for office." And I thought to myself, I would kind of blow it off, I was a former math physics professor, and it's that's not really my forte, but I would give these talks. People would say that to me, and then I was out knocking doors for Turning Point Action out in October, out in Arizona.
Right, yeah, with Charlie Kirk's
which I could talk about a little more, which was it was unbelievable experience. Charlie Kirk's group.
Right.
And I had a group of 3 people. We worked together for a month knocking doors, and one of the persons there, she said, when you go back to Missouri, you have to run for office. Go back right now, register, get your campaign going. And that was kind of the final straw. I was like, okay, if enough people are telling me this, then I should run. Part of my motivation is I've become frustrated by a couple things. And one thing is the lack of understanding of our political system. It seems like from many of the representatives, both federally and the state, things like thinking we're a democracy when we're actually a constitutional republic. Mm-hmm. I've also become frustrated with the influence of special interests, lobbyists, and monetary influences. It seems like certain representatives are selling out the interests of Missourians, to further their own situation, and that bothers me. So I want to try to change that. And I know a few of the reps in Jefferson City now, and they tell me some stories about the influence of money there.
Oh, I can only imagine. And again, we've had other people on that it seems quite, I mean, you talk about these term limits and things like that, and it seems to be quite a natural progression that once you're about to term out, some of these people get these special interest groups behind them and saying, look, you're going to be out of a job here pretty soon. Why don't you back what we want you to? And you may have a job on the way out the door. I mean, I'm sure that's tempting, but you're not that kind of guy. So what would you do in that kind of situation? Because it's probably going to, come your way.
And that's a great question. People can talk a good game before they go to office, and they go into Jeff City, and people think, well, he's going to become corrupted. And what I would say to that is, I mean, I do feel like I'm a moral person. I was raised to have principles, by my dad, who was a lawyer, very successful lawyer, but he just said your principles are what make you have value and worth.
Right.
So if you don't have those, you're really not anything. I feel like I'm a moral person. I took a stand a few years ago, and we've talked about this at a college I was teaching at, where they were forcing a vaccine mandate, or they weren't honoring religious exemptions, and I resigned from a very good job. I was the only faculty member I wrote a letter to even sign that letter. So I feel like I've demonstrated in the past I'm willing to forego financial incentives out of principle. But yeah, I think it's challenging when you go there and there's a lot of money flowing around. I'd like to be financially independent. And we're actually working right now on with Missouri 82 Alliance. So conservative grassroots organizations are working on forming an alliance that will financially support true America First conservative candidates, because the frustrating thing is there's this group, HRCC, they basically fund re-election campaigns, but it's kind of a pay-to-play thing where it's like, you pay us and we'll guarantee you get elected. But then people are controlled. So we'd like to form a counteractive super PAC or PAC that will support truly conservative candidates. So if we can have that fund candidates versus this other HRCC, then that would be a better situation. People wouldn't be so controlled. But I would like to be, if I could, be financially independent. So it's like, I don't need your money to get reelected, and then I can't be controlled.
Right. Let's like Donald Trump. I mean,
exactly.
And that's just it. And you go in, and that's the best way. I think those are the type of people I want to see in office. And I think it's so silly when people say, well, he's not an insider. Well, that's exactly why he's the guy. And so you're kind of taking that same approach.
With
correct?
a little less money than he has, but
But
it's the same approach. If you can pay for your own things. I know of a guy I recently got in touch with who's running out in the Raleigh area.
Okay.
And he ran for House, completely financially independent. He's now running for Senate, financially independent. And there's something to that. When you don't take, you don't take people's money. There's always strings attached when you take money. Yeah. So he's not controlled. Now, I will say for our race, we do need to raise money. And these Senate races, it astounded me. They're about $500,000.
Sure.
To do a race.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things I always didn't understand, or I don't understand to this day, is I mean, you look at different things you look at the sports teams. Okay, they have salary caps, things like that. Why do you think politics? Why can't there be like some type of campaign cap where everybody has a certain amount of money up to a certain level? I think that would even the playing field, because you have some people that may be a total yahoo with a bunch of money that is going to probably win just because of the exposure. I mean, is that something that's ever even been addressed? I don't know about it.
I think people are addressing it. There is a limit to contributions to my campaign fund.
Right.
For like a Senate race is $2,400.
Right.
But there are ways around. People find, not illegally, but there's other ways to raise less, to raise more funds that go over that limit to different organizations, which can help support that candidate. But I think it's a big issue. And another issue with this is incumbents have a huge advantage, because if someone gets in office, like the person I'm running against, she was a House rep for, I believe, 8 years or 6 years, is now a state senator. Once you get in there are mechanisms that are very friendly to standing representatives to raise a lot more money, which makes it harder for people coming out of the grassroots to try to take them on, because they have a machine already developed with significant funding.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly what can be done. I mean, sure, people are looking into that and doing things about it, but I'm not an expert on what can be done to limit that. But I agree, it's unfortunate that the financial situation seems to dictate a lot of these things. How many flyers can you get out? How many mailers do you send out? How many signs? And there's, if you don't have money, you can't print those things, and you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Well, yes. And again, we go back to Joey and I just announcing it, just blurting it out that you were doing it. And I still think that's kind of, what did I say, Joey? That was like we kind of like pushed you off the diving board. We kind of like said,
sometimes you need a push, right?
We said that. So, again, when you are, really successful and you all these things, go in, go into effect, and you're big, and everybody, and you become nationally known for all the success you've had. Again, like I told Dave Wassinger and everybody else, make sure that you attribute all that to being on the show. Okay?
I will tell everyone that this was the show where it all started.
That's what Dave did. Okay, I mean, and look what Dave's now, the lieutenant governor.
I love that guy. I'm so glad he won. His it was close with Lincoln Huff, and I will say Lincoln Huff, if you look at his voting record, I don't know how he's a Republican, but David Wassinger seems like a true America First patriot to me.
He is. And he said he owes everything to this show.
Wow.
Well, he didn't really say that. He said may owe you. No, maybe he didn't say that at all. But maybe, for the most part, that's the way I construed it. But anyway,
I get
you're going to do great, my friend. I know you are,
it.
and I totally believe in you. You have our support, at least my support. Joey's over there. I don't know what he's doing. What are you doing, Joey?
I'm taking notes on what the address is to send my checks.
Now there you go.
There he
There's
goes.
a
I didn't know what
step.
he was doing. I thought he was writing music for Mitch in the background.
This is for the show notes.
Oh, show notes.
If I might add something about that.
Absolutely.
I've been to a lot of grassroots meetings, and I'm very much aligned with the grassroots. I love going to the meetings. What I will say is when people ask me what they can do, unfortunately, there's a certain amount of money you have to raise.
Right.
And the best thing the grassroots can do is think about that for our campaign. I don't like necessarily making that pitch, but it's just the reality. It's like a car.
Sure.
You have the most beautiful car, but it has no gas in it. It ain't going anywhere.
Exactly
campaign
right.
needs to have a certain amount of money to get out the flyers and mailers. If we have a great message, so if we can get that to enough people, I'm convinced we can win. But
do you have a slogan?
One of my slogans is restoring the founder's vision of government to Missouri.
Okay, maybe we could think of something really
Making Missouri behave with Dave.
Yeah.
Dave's going to make Missouri behave.
Yeah, the Missouri Wave with Dave, or something like that.
Red
a little
Wave.
more snappy, right?
We'll work on that.
I like Red Wave with Dave. Yeah.
Red Wave.
I
like
Wave.
that.
Dave. See, now this guy, I tell you what, he is I don't know, and this is going off on another tangent, but do you realize, do you remember David Ogilvy by any chance? He was the father of advertising back in the 50s. I mean, he was the guy that, brought all the stuff that really made, it was like the Mad Men back in the day.
No one ate breakfast until him.
Until David Ogilvy. That's right, Ogilvy, something like that. But anyway, Joey, he is like the modern day, and nobody said, who is David Ogilvy? It's Joey, because he's the marketing guru here.
Start paying this guy to
I see.
give us
He
some
gets
good
all
logos.
seriously. You get all the big bucks, don't you?
I get to pick out one thing a week from the Todd Showalter store.
Yeah.
And usually it's the T-shirts. I love a good T-shirt. I'll do anything for a shirt. So if you have one for the campaign,
we
send it
need
my
a
way.
shirt for our campaign.
Oh, we can definitely do
for
that.
our volunteers. We were thinking about that the other day
Right,
because Eigel had some great shirts.
Well, I bet we could even get a cartoon on it for you.
That would be on the back or something. That would be fantastic.
Well, like on the inside back or the outside?
Outside back.
On the tag.
No, I didn't mean
On the
inside
tag.
back.
Okay.
I was saying have our message.
I don't like Dave anymore, so we're going to break. No, I'm kidding. No, it's great to have you on. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And again, you're a passionate guy. I'm behind you 1,000,000%.
I appreciate it.
I mean, we were behind Andy Jones, and we're not. Well, he didn't do as well. But anyway, you on the other hand.
Did he get the 2 spots or
he didn't get the final 2 spots? But
that's
you know
a tough
what?
race.
I know. But the reason why is because he did the show by remote. Okay, right before the election. You're actually sitting here in the flesh, so you got it made. Okay, and plus you'll be in many more times.
I love being here in purpose. On purpose. On purpose. In person.
Either way, it
on
works.
Purpose
it's
and
okay.
in person.
Well, I'll take what I can get. Well, hey, it's great having you, buddy.
Thanks,
So
Todd.
we look forward to the
appreciate
next
it.
time.
I appreciate you guys supporting this campaign very much.
betcha. All right, and I understood everything you said a lot more than Bitcoin. Okay.
Okay,
I'll
great.
leave it at that. All right. Well, Joey, you got before we break away here, I did want to point out that while I forgot your gift while I was in Florida. It was a bunch of seashells that I found, in the bottom of my shoes while I was gone. You happened to bring me Simply Perfect catnip bubbles. Now, where did you find these, my friend?
They were just laying out at some merch booth at a farmer's market, and I took it without telling anyone.
The merch booth, the farmer's market with the lesbians? Or?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Okay.
And I've actually tried this catnip infused bubbles on my cat, and he's terrified. So it's still fun for me no matter what.
You blow them right in their face, right?
I assume you can watch some YouTube videos and see cats that do like it and start going crazy. But my cat, he is terrified. And then I don't know if there's soap in it, but if it pops in his eye, he hates that as well. It burns real good.
That's even more fun. Yeah, that'll get PETA on us, won't it? But, we'll know somebody in government to bail us out. Right, Dave?
That's right.
Exactly.
Government always bail you out. You're the right person.
Oh, boy, it'll be
I
wonderful.
assume they're non-toxic. We'll see. But what happens after the fact, I hope, when you try them on your cat is even if your cat's scared, then when they pop on the floor, there'll still be a residue of catnip, and then it'll go crazy.
Oh, I got it. Well, I'm going to try it on Grandma first.
Yeah, film it.
I'm just going to say, hey, Grandma, it's a bubble, and see what she does. Because whenever Grandma falls out of her, her wheelchair and starts rolling on the floor, that's always funny to begin with. But if it has to do with simply perfect catnip bubbles, that'll even be funnier.
Yeah, that'd be a good sponsor to have.
That sure would be. Hey, did you have a good time today?
I had a wonderful time.
Dave, did you have a good time?
Excellent time.
My son's here for Father's Sunday, and we don't know what he's doing, but I did notice the fire engines are all here, so I better take care of that. Well, you know what I always say, don't you? If you don't have a right mind, you don't have a mind at all. Till next time, it's me, Todd Showalter, along with my buddy Joe A.V. Dave here with us, who's going to be our next Missouri Senator. This is The Right Mind Show. Till next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to The Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter. To find out about all things Todd, go to toddsprod.com. We will see you next Saturday night at 5 p.m. right here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, and always streaming online at newstalkstl.com.